evening, Chicago. Welcome on into Chi-Town Weekly. I am so glad you come back to listen to me again. I am your host, Adam Carnick. We've got a little bit to talk about on this week. The Bears stepped in again with their end-of-year press conference. George McCaskey, Ted Phillips, Ryan Pace, and Matt Nagy all managed to put egg on their faces and play the part of the fool. I didn't think I'd be talking about the Bears again so soon, but I couldn't get out of here without talking about that press conference. Also, the Bulls and the Blackhawks have been playing recently. The Bulls unexpectedly had about a week off there thanks to some COVID-related activities going on in the NBA, but they're back and have had some up and down play a little bit. We'll talk about where they might be headed a little bit. And then the Blackhawks, as we previewed last week, the Blackhawks dropped the puck on their season. And oof, it was a little bit of a rough start to their year. We'll talk about that a little bit, and then see where they might go from there. And then want to take a little bit more of a serious note today. Today is MLK Day, and I thought it just wouldn't be appropriate to have a show tonight without talking about some things from the late, great Dr. Martin Luther King and a little bit of a sports perspective. So we will do that and more on Chi-Town Weekly. Everybody buckle up, let's have some fun. And once again, good evening and welcome in. This is Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I am your host, Adam Carnick. If you are a returning listener, thank you so much for continuing to come back and listen to me rant and ramble and go on about sports in the most awesome city in the United States. If you're a first-time listener, welcome in. Thanks for listening and giving me a try here. I'm not sure how you found me, but I'm certainly glad you did. As always, if you are listening live on Spreaker, please feel free, hop on in, create a username and an account for yourself. It's free, and you can hop on into the chat, and you and I can go back and forth a little bit more directly. Or if you just want to sit back and listen to me talk, that's fine, too. A little bit of housekeeping that we need to get out of the way before we dive too much into the show we've got planned for you tonight. First of all, our sponsor tonight, Chi-Town Weekly, and all the shows here on IE Sports Radio are sponsored by Legacy Financial. It's been a tough year. However, staying positive, keeping your faith, and continuing to work hard is the goal. If you're in a financial struggle at the moment and you need some help, call 951-732-0130 or 510-928-2104 to book your appointment today. Andrew and Ayo are just two people on a mission to help families build a legacy. Follow them on Twitter at legacy_uncut or on Instagram at sims_uncut. And ways you can interact with the station on social media as well. IE Sports Radio is available on the major social media platforms. Twitter at IE Sports Radio. Instagram at IE Sports Radio. Facebook, you can search IE Sports Radio. And our website is iesportsradio.com. You can follow along with this show on Twitter as well. We have a new Twitter handle. It is at IESRC. Or you can follow along with my personal Twitter handle at Adam_Carnick. So I wanted to kick the show off tonight talking a little bit about the two teams that reside in the United Center, the Bulls and the Blackhawks. Let's start with the Bulls a little bit. Bulls right now, they're getting ready, set to tip things off here with the Houston Rockets in a little less than an hour here on Monday night. They come into the game at 5-8, and they just recently last night beat the Dallas Mavericks to end a 4-game losing streak, get back on the winning path a little bit. There was an interesting quote from head coach Billy Donovan from back after their game on Friday night, which was their first game in almost a week. They were supposed to play in Boston about a week ago, but that game got postponed due to a little bit of a COVID situation in Boston, so they rescheduled that game. And then they returned to Oklahoma City, which had been Coach Donovan's former gig before taking over for the Bulls, and they squandered a late lead in that one. They had a 10-point lead with less than 2 minutes to go and still managed to lose the game. There was a quote from ESPN where they were only the second team in close to 3,000 NBA games that lost with that big of a lead with that little time left. And there was an interesting quote from Donovan where he said that the Bulls as a team, they want to win, but they need to learn how to do it. And that they're young, they're inexperienced, and coming off of the prior regime that just didn't command the room and didn't have the respect of the players. Even though several of them have been in the league now for several years, they still have to learn how to win. And so they had a fairly lengthy and kind of intense practice on Saturday where they did a lot of film study and they did a lot of just kind of soul searching as a team. And Donovan said, look, everybody... The quote that he used was, everybody wants to go to the moon, but not everybody wants to learn how to be an astronaut. And he said, you guys, I know everybody wants to win, but you're all going to have to learn how to do some things to win. And it's going to be just helping hold each other accountable. Hey, Kobe White, I saw that you struggled there with some turnovers on pick and roll. Let's work on that. Hey, Lauri Markkanen, I know it's your first game back, but you were having a little bit of trouble just understanding what we were supposed to do in the offense. Let's work on that. And just working with each other to put the work in. He said, I do think the group here wants to win, but they're going to have to take another step. They responded to that last night. Last night they played the Dallas Mavericks, and things got going and things did very, very well. They won the game 117-101. Their turnovers dropped significantly, which had been a point of emphasis. After turning the ball over 24 times against Oklahoma City, they just turned it over 14 times against Dallas. Zach LaVine had set a franchise record against Oklahoma City. He became the first Bull ever to make 7 3-pointers in back-to-back games. He wasn't able to duplicate that and go for the three-peat. He didn't make any against Dallas, but he showed a little bit more poise out on the court, and they were able to win without LaVine just going wild with the shooting. The other thing that was nice to see was Lauri Markkanen had missed some time due to COVID, and now in his 2 games back, he's got 45 points on 15 of 33 shooting, 45%, and including he had 29 points against Dallas last night. So we're starting to see some signs from the Bulls. Obviously, they've got a very, very, very long way to go. They're just 5-8 on the season. They've got to be able to put some things together. They're not going to have Otto Porter Jr. tonight. He's had some back issues. He's not going to play tonight, so the Bulls will have to dig a little deeper on their bench to make up for that. Otto had some nice play earlier in the season, but he's showing that he's kind of streaky a little bit. So now you kind of look at this team too, I'm not sure what answers we have yet for anybody. I think you're still looking, anything and everything is on the table for this team, for this organization. I still hear that the only guy that, the great way I've heard it said a few times on the radio is that Patrick Williams, their first round pick from this year, Patrick Williams is the only guy who should be looking to buy a house. Everybody else should be looking to rent, because you have no idea what Karnisovitz and the rest of this front office is going to do with any of these players. Zach LaVine, it's looking like, could very well be trade bait, get dangled out there to somebody that might be a little bit more competitive. And who knows with any of the rest of these players, maybe some veteran leadership. Otto Porter could perhaps bring in something. It'll be interesting to see and just follow what the Bulls are going to do if they can string a couple things together. So it'll be worth keeping an eye on tonight in that game against Houston. The other side of the United Center belongs, of course, to the Blackhawks. They dropped the puck last week. They've been in Florida for the last week, playing against Tampa Bay a couple of times, and then playing against former head coach Joel Quenneville and his Florida Panthers last night. And it's been rough, to say the least. Through 3 games, the Blackhawks have yet to take the lead. They have given up 15 goals while getting just 6 goals for themselves. They are giving up a lot of high danger chances. When you're looking at the numbers, and I'm looking at Ben Pope, who was on the show last week. He's done a nice job of breaking down some numbers here. When it's even ice, so 5-on-5, their scoring chances are dead even, 62 for, 62 against. However, they've given up 22 high danger chances while only getting 15 for themselves. And the puck's just not finding the back of the net. In 5-on-5 situations, they've been outscored 11-1 so far. So, and the thing that he points out, and I just saw the story that he posted a little bit ago, so I haven't had a chance to look at it too closely. But we've had Colin Delia start in goal twice, and we've had Malcolm Subban start in goal once, and for both of them, they just haven't been good. They just have not done a good job of stopping shots on a consistent basis. And then the offense has just not been up to snuff. Now, that's obviously due in part because this is supposed to be a rebuilding year a little bit. And then also you are missing some incredibly key pieces in Jonathan Toews, Kirby Dach, Alex Nylander, Brent Seabrook. These are huge pieces of your team, your leadership in the form of Toews and Seabrook, and just scoring in Toews and Dach and Nylander. So you're missing some important cogs. So obviously they've been struggling a little bit. Quote here from Blackhawks head coach Jeremy Colleton, and the question was about the big picture scenario, this starting 0-3-0 and being outscored 15-5. He actually isn't as concerned with it. He feels that, that's a small picture thing. He's more concerned with, are guys improving, and are we starting to see how it should look? The message to our guys is we have to find a way to reach that level more often, and we're narrowing it down to as small of bits as shift to shift. That they haven't reached an ability to think game to game yet. This is going to be a long season, Hawks fans, and it's going to be rough. I'm going to still enjoy following along with the team, but we're probably not going to be talking about them a whole lot because there's probably not going to be a whole lot good or exciting or just encouraging to talk about, and who knows what we'll be learning from it. when a lot of your important pieces are out, and the guys that are playing just are so fresh and raw and new that it's going to be a slog. So things might be a little rough in the United Center. Not that we're allowed in the building yet, but even if we are able to before season's end, it might be a little bit before we're getting the entertaining products that we have become so accustomed to enjoying, especially on the hockey side, but even on the basketball side a little bit as well. All right, we are going to take a quick break, and then when we come out of that, today's MLK Day, and I thought it would be appropriate to talk about the good Dr. King. So we will attempt to do that here in a few minutes. This is Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey, what's up, sports fans? You're looking for a different type of sports talk show, something you haven't heard before? You gotta check out the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday on 2 Live Stews Radio, 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern. Sports talk at its finest. Always have great guests, playing some good hip-hop. You don't want to miss it. Make sure to tune in to the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday at 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern.
What's happening, sports fans? Are you a fan of Southern California sports? Are you looking for a show hotter than a hot summer day in California? Then look no further than the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where I talk about all things Southern California sports. That's right, all sports teams from Southern California. From the hard-hitting tackles of the NFL, to the killer crossovers and big three-pointers of the NBA and WNBA, to the grand slams of the MLB, to the bone-chilling goals of the NHL, and to the booming kicks of the MLS, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show has it all for you. Oh, and let us not forget about the college sports as well. So join me, Taryn Rodriguez, every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey USRN fans, do you have a product or company you're trying to promote? Look no further. USRN is teaming up with small local businesses trying to establish themselves via online promotion. Let us know if you're interested. Email us at usrnradio@gmail.com to learn more.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy white tea. They're coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Welcome to the Soccer Scoreboard Show with your host, Gabriel Montoya. This is the show for soccer, football fans, or whatever you call the beautiful game. Every week, I tackle the latest and greatest news from around the soccer world. From the English Premier League, to the World Cup, to MLS, Liga MX, and more. You can listen to the Soccer Scoreboard Show and our lineup of fantastic guests every Friday at noon here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. So today is MLK Day, and I thought it would be very remiss of me to let the day go by without acknowledging it. Yet at the same time, as I was planning out this segment and thinking about this, I am not very qualified to talk a whole lot about Dr. King. I have a passion for history. I have studied history. At the same time, besides studying the civil rights movement in grade school and high school, as we all do growing up, I haven't given it a ton of my attention as an adult or on my own reading and learning and dissecting. I've had other things that I've just wanted to learn about. But I thought it was incredibly important to go over, especially since the last few years in sports, especially, we have seen such an increase in social causes and social awareness in our sports settings. Many of us, we like to use, as a culture, we like to use sports as an escape, but at the same time, sports, we've learned, sports can be a comfortable and appropriate place to bring forward important topics. And of course, obviously the NBA is doing an amazing job with it. You saw last night teams wearing warm-up shirts and jerseys that paid tribute to Dr. King and spoke about him more specifically, and you've seen things that the NBA players have done to bring up social justice causes. We've seen it in the NFL this season with the decals on the backs of the helmets, and it takes all of us printed in the backs of the end zones. And that could be traced back to Dr. King. And I don't want this to get to be too political of a conversation. I am not the most qualified person to have a political conversation, for starters. And then also with where we are at as a country right now, it's very difficult to have a political conversation without it turning to finger pointing and name calling and backstabbing very, very quickly. It's difficult to have an adult conversation right now. I'll leave it at that. But it is interesting that Dr. King, he recognized the importance of sports in the world of social justice, even back in the 50s and 60s, he recognized the potential there. And he helped athletes learn that they had a voice and a little bit of how to use it. Sports Illustrated, there was an article by Dave Zirin of Sports Illustrated, and this is an older article. This is from back in 2010. But I thought it was worth kind of reviewing and going through a little bit, even all the way back to, and we'll start. Dr. King himself wasn't necessarily an athlete. He was 5'6", 5'7". We've seen the pictures, a little bit on the, little bit on the chubby side, a little bit. He enjoyed playing billiards. He liked shooting pool. I can relate to that. I love shooting 8-ball. But other than that, he was not necessarily an athletic person, but he loved sports. He was old enough to watch Jackie Robinson break the color barrier in Major League Baseball. And he actually helped Jackie Robinson find his voice as an activist for social justice. The quote from Dr. King, he when Jackie Robinson first started talking about social justice issues, same as we do today, it was reflexively, well, who are you to tell us about these problems? Who are you to be saying these things need to be fixed? But Dr. King spoke up and said, no. This is a guy who should be talking about this. Quote, he is a pilgrim that walked in the lonesome byways toward the high road of freedom. He was a sit-inner before sit-ins, a freedom rider before freedom rides. And that encouraged Jackie Robinson to keep championing social justice. He later began putting in his speeches, if I had to choose tomorrow between the Baseball Hall of Fame and full citizenship for my people, I would choose full citizenship time and again. Dr. King also was an influence to athletes such as Muhammad Ali, and was a big part in the 1968 Olympics. There was talk at that time that perhaps the United States and some different athletes on the United States Olympics team might boycott the Olympic Games. And Dr. King supported those athletes and said, you guys, this is a protest, and I'm going to quote here, this is a protest and a struggle against racism and injustice, and that is what we are working to eliminate in our organization and in our total struggle. Dr. King emboldened athletes way back in the 50s and 60s. And even though those 1968 Olympics ultimately weren't boycotted, you saw those 68 games, most famously men like John Carlos and Lee Evans and Tommy Smith, when they were awarded medals, they raised a fist. And that their interactions with Dr. King helped embolden them and empower them and make them feel like this is something that we're okay to do. And we see that all the way even now in current events. I know that we as sports fans, we may not always like when messages like this are out there, that it might frustrate us or take away from our ability to distract ourselves from the real world and force the real world problems back into our distractions. But I think it's important to recognize that when these athletes do these things, there is something of a historical precedent to it, that this isn't just all brand new out of the blue and we've never seen this before. That they are getting influence and they are being encouraged even today by someone who was assassinated over 50 years ago. I realize as I'm sitting here that I was looking forward to having this conversation, and I was also, the closer I got to it, realized that this is kind of terrifying, because this is a very serious conversation, and who the heck am I to have a serious conversation? I sit in front of a microphone and I talk about which guy got tackled what way, and how could a guy drop a ball or not move fast enough. Who the heck am I to talk about these social justice issues? But it's an important conversation to have, and it's one that's not necessarily going to disappear or go away anytime soon, and who knows, maybe not ever. If it does go away, hopefully it does go away, because then hopefully it's because we've just all started to treat each other with the respect and the love that we all, as human beings that have to share this earth together, deserve from one another. With that, I am going to take another quick break, and then when we come out of that, we'll get back into some sports conversation, and it will be about the upper echelon of the Chicago Bears management and the doozy of a press conference they had last week. This is Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Dentarius Lava.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That give you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry B, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head primetime face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it.
Hi everybody, it's Calvin here from USRN, here to give you an important message. Since 2017, we have done our absolute best to provide you with nothing but the highest quality of sports calls in the greatest of quantity possible. Thanks to you, our station has grown more than we ever thought. That's why, with your help, we would like to grow even further. Just think, twice the amount of your favorite calls, 24 hours of coverage, talk shows, play-by-play, game-by-game analysis, and so much more. That's right, USRN2 is officially in development, but we can't do it alone. We have set up a GoFundMe page that you can access from our homepage on the left of your screen. We also are planning special giveaways and prizes to our highest owners. Our goal here at USRN is to bring you the best calls possible at no cost to you. In order to continue to do that, we need your help now. Please check out our GoFundMe page, and if you would like to know how you can help, you can email usrnradio@gmail.com. Without your support, we couldn't do what we do.
What's up, everybody? This is Darren Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunderous Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio. And this week we are sponsored by Legacy Financial. It's been a tough year. However, staying positive, keeping your faith, and continuing to work hard is the goal. If you're in a financial struggle at the moment and you need some help, call 951-732-0130 or 510-928-2104 to book your appointment today. Andrew and Ao are just two people on a mission to help families build a legacy. Follow them on Twitter at legacy_uncut or on Instagram at Sims_uncut. _uncut. And if you are interested in becoming a sponsor for the station, thank you so very much for considering it in the first place. That really does help us keep things going and keep the lights on in the station and keep us going. There's a very easy way for you to do that. Even if you've got a business, we'd love to promote that. But even if you want to help out, you can do that too, and we're very appreciative. You can go to ko-fi.com/IE Sports Radio, and you can buy us a coffee. Ko-fi is a website that is designed to help artists and content creators and podcast authors, just a way to support us in what we do and help keep the lights on and keep things going. We're not the most expensive station, obviously, to keep going every month, but it does take money every month to keep the station going. So any little bit that you're able to give, if you're in a position, it is greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. Again, that is Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/IE Sports Radio. And if you do have a business and you would like to be a corporate sponsor for us, you can reach out to us, and we've got packages starting at $30 that allow you to promote your business and sponsor, help us help you support your business. All right, so thank you for getting through that last segment with me. That was a very serious topic, a very serious conversation, and not an easy one to do, but I'm glad we did it. So thank you for going through that with me. Now let's backtrack a little bit and get a bit more just sports oriented here. The Bears season ended last week, and I figured, all right, I will be taking a break from talking about the Bears for a little while, do some preview type things here and there. Oh, and I see Taryn in the chat. I handled it extremely well. Thank you, Taryn. I appreciate that. So, as I was saying, I didn't expect to talk too much about the Bears again for a little while. Take a little bit of a break from them and do some prep work and see maybe how the draft will go and just kick back and watch some football and enjoy it. And then they had their end-of-year press conference last week. It was last Wednesday. If you haven't listened to it, don't bother wasting your time, because it's just 90 minutes that's going to make you angry and mad and just want to break something in your house. So if you haven't listened to it, don't seek it out to listen to it. I'll warn you right there. If you have listened to it, what a colossal waste of air and time space that they did. For 90 minutes, you had team president Ted Phillips, chairman of the board George McCaskey, general manager Ryan Pace, and head coach Matt Nagy use, 100,000 words and say absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. The biggest takeaways from it were that they're so proud of the way that they overcame a 6-game losing streak and won a game. And that, yes, they're not happy at going 8-8 for the second year in a row, but they don't see the need to make any changes. That because they're all working together, and the word that they kept using over and over and over again was, because we're collaborating together, we don't need to change anything. I'm sorry, but BS. For the second year in a row, you went 8-8. You only made it into the playoffs this time because they expanded the field and another team's quarterback got hurt mid-game, and so they couldn't win their game, which allowed you to just fall into the playoffs. You only won 3 times in the last 11 weeks of the season, and they were the 3 games where you went up against the 3 worst defenses in the NFL. Your defense fell apart. Your offense has never gotten on track, regardless of who's in at quarterback. And your top wide receiver is about to leave the team because you decided to play hardball with him when he was more than willing to sign a contract at below market value. There's nothing good about this situation. Some sort of change needs to happen. I know a lot of fans have been clamoring for Ted Phillips to get removed. I honestly don't get that, because Ted Phillips' job as team president is to make sure that the Chicago Bears as a business organization make as much money and utilize every resource at their disposal to make as much money off of the football field as possible. He doesn't have anything to do with the football operations. So I hear the fans clamor for that, but at the same time, I don't think that would do anything. So I'm fine with him staying put. But what would be good to see would be somebody that has had success, and not just success, but recent success at identifying talent and getting them in there so that they can oversee Pace a little bit. Not necessarily hold Pace's hand and tell him what to do, but to tell Ryan Pace that, hey, you might want to reconsider this position. That's not a very good idea. You might not want to trade up for Mitch Trubisky. You can be just fine staying here at third overall and drafting him. Hey, I know that you've decided that you don't want to interview Deshaun Watson, but he's one of the top 3 quarterbacks in this draft, and you are drafting third. You're talking to the other 2 quarterbacks. You should do your due diligence and talk to the third guy. Or, hey, I know you want to increase your pass rush, and Robert Quinn just had a big year last year, but let's analyze that a little bit. Maybe we shouldn't. We've already spent a lot of money on our defense. Maybe we shouldn't spend more money on our defense. Some kind of balance to Ryan Pace's check would be nice to have. And what the Bears did last week, it wasn't the worst move or the worst decision that they could have made as far as going forward. I still maintain that the worst move to have made would have been firing Pace, but keeping Matt Nagy and saying, we will keep Matt Nagy regardless of who the next general manager is. We're going to keep Nagy for at least a season. I still maintain that that would have been the worst move to make, but this was next. To keep both of them, but to say, you better shape up, and this coming year, 2021, better be the year. Because, and I know I talked about it a little bit last week, the Bears aren't in a position to fix the team. You don't have a quarterback. You don't have you don't have a wide receiver anymore. And I see Taryn jumping in, wanting to help the Bears get Deshaun Watson. Allen Robinson, Trubisky, and a few draft picks for Watson? Well, there's 2 problems with that, Taryn. Allen Robinson and Mitchell Trubisky are no longer under contract control by the Bears. Robinson is a free agent. This was year 3 of a 3-year deal. The Bears declined the 5th-year option on Mitchell Trubisky. So this was year 4 of a 4-year deal. Those 2 guys are free to walk, free to go talk to anybody else. Mitch, you could understand it. You could see it. I thought it was a bad move at the time to not pick up his option because his option contained an out clause for the team. So I thought, it makes sense to pick him up just in case he does blow up. Allen Robinson's kind of an infuriating situation because you wind the clock back 12 months. I know it feels like 36 months because of the whole COVID thing. But believe it or not, just 12 months ago, we weren't dealing with COVID in a global scale yet. And one of the biggest concerns for the Bears was, what do you do with Allen Robinson? But it looked good because Robinson wanted to be here. Yes, he was entering the final year of a 3-year deal. And yes, the Bears aren't in a great cap spot, but he wants to be here. He's happy with the coaching staff. He's happy with the quarterback situation. He wants to be here, and in fact, he's even willing to take a little less than market value just to stay here. This should be over and done with. This shouldn't be a problem. Now, 12 months later, you have managed to isolate and alienate your best player on offense to the point where I'd be shocked if he's back. I know that you can use the franchise tag on him. The franchise tag for a wide receiver is going to cost over $15 million this year. We don't have the salary cap number for 2021 yet, but it's going to be in the neighborhood of 175 to 195. We'll know here in the next few months where it'll actually be. Chances are the Bears are going to have, in a best case scenario, let's say it's $195 million. The Bears will have about $12 million in cap space to play with. They have about $190 million in salary tied up for next year. That's without Allen Robinson. That's without Mitchell Trubisky, who I don't think he's coming back. I talked about that last week. I think Trubisky's gone. I had a friend of mine who's a Broncos fan. He saw a piece that was linking Trubisky with Denver, and he said, "Please tell me this isn't true. Please." And I was, no, I don't think it's true. You don't have a top 10 pick. You're picking 20th. Oh, yeah, now maybe Anthony Miller, Nick Foles, Jimmy Graham, and a first or second for Deshaun. If I'm Houston, let's run through that. Anthony Miller, bad. He has regressed unbelievably this year. He was your 4th receiver. Nick Foles, and he's expensive. He went, 2-5 in 7 starts this year and looked awful in them. And he's $6.5 million against your cap. Jimmy Graham, okay, he caught a bunch of touchdown passes. What else did he do? And a first for Deshaun. I mean, if I'm the Bears, absolutely. Where do I sign? I'll take that. Absolutely. I'm getting rid of 3 of my biggest headache, oldest and or biggest headaches on the team. Sign me up. Done. Also, Jimmy Graham is expensive. I'd have to look up the cap number for him. So I don't have it right in front of me, but he is an expensive cap hit. Also, strangely enough, with Nick Foles, even if the Bears trade him, Foles is actually more expensive to cut or trade for the Bears than he is to just keep. So Nick Foles will be staying put with the Bears. And that will actually save them money. But yeah, that trade outlined there. Oh yeah, if I'm the Bears, I'm all for it. I will gladly give you Miller, Foles, Graham, and a first or a second for Deshaun. I'd sign on the dotted on that in a second and twice on Sundays. If I'm the Texans and you come to me with that offer, I'm laughing and then I'm hanging up the phone. And I'm telling you, if I'm nice, I'm telling you, come back to me when you're serious. I don't see any way that the Bears get Deshaun Watson. It would be wonderful if it were to happen, but you're going to have to mortgage everything to go get him. Now, that's not to say that I don't think Ryan Pace is going to mortgage everything. Ryan Pace has a tendency and a history of trading up in the first round, and I totally expect him to do that because now he's been told, you're free to do whatever you want, but you better win this year. So I completely expect them to sell the farm to go up and get one guy. I would not be surprised to see a Ricky Williams-esque trade for the Bears to jump up and try and get either Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields. I don't want to see them do that because they've got so many other holes on this roster. You need a quarterback. You need a tackle. You need a wide receiver. You need help in your secondary. You need some linebacking depth. You need draft picks. You can't be throwing them all away to just go get a quarterback. But the Bears screwed the pooch on this one in a big way. And it's just... I have the feeling that what we are about to see this offseason from the Bears is going to set the franchise back potentially for up to 5 or 6 years. Oh, and then I see Taryn, one more trade option. Tariq Cohen or David Montgomery for Watson. Sure, if I'm the Bears, absolutely. Heck, I'll give you both. I'll give you Tariq and Montgomery for Deshaun Watson, absolutely. But if I'm Houston, that's just, there's no value there to you if you're Houston. Deshaun Watson's one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the game right now, and you've got him locked up for 5 or 6 years. If I'm the Texans, I'm wanting multiple first-round picks. I'm wanting probably 3 or 4 of them minimum to try to make this happen. And the Bears might be crazy enough to do it. I really, really, really hope they don't, because I don't want to see them struggling for year after year after year. I want to see them using these draft picks for their own betterment, to get their own players and build a team that's going to succeed for a long, long, long time. All right, that does it for this week's show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. Thank you, Karen, for hopping into the chat. I appreciate that. Thank you to Larry B for everything that you do here at IE Sports, running a very nice taut ship. Coming up next tonight, right after me, we've got Mike Path. We'll be doing Let's Whine About Sports. He's going to be talking things NFL and WNBA tonight. He is going to be creating his WNBA all-time team, and it looks like he's going to be taking a break from drinking wine tonight. He's going to be drinking an IPA. All right, not exactly my favorite beer, but he always gives great review on alcohol. I'm willing to stick around for that. So be sure to check out Mike. He's coming up right after me tonight. And then elsewhere, we've got some new things coming up all the time on IE Sports Radio. We've got the return of one of our classic shows, The Extra Mile Racing Show with Daryl is going to be coming back next Thursday. Don't miss that. One of the co-hosts, Christopher Lehman, actually went on our basketball show last night, Fast Break, and they were talking about Michael Jordan, who is now an owner in NASCAR. So if you want to go back to last night's Fast Break episode, you can check that out. All kinds of fun things happening on IE Sports Radio. And of course, I will be here next week. Same time, same place. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope to catch you there next week. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy. We'll talk to you then.